Stoke, and welcome back to the Hungarian Heritage Podcast, Season 4. It means so much to have you here with me again, and if this is your first time tuning in, I'm so glad that you're here. This podcast has always been a journey, not just through Hungarian people, places, food, and culture, but through the heart of what connects us all, our stories, our memories, and the pride we carry in who we are and where we come from. This season, I'll be introducing you to new friends and revisiting familiar voices who share a passion for preserving and celebrating Hungarian heritage. Together, we'll reflect on how traditions are preserved and how our Hungarian identity evolves and how we can pass this rich culture to the next generation so it doesn't just live in the past, but thrives in the future. Each episode will continue to reflect the flavors passed down through generations to the stories that carry our pride and history. Some stories will make you laugh, others might bring a tear to your eye, but all of them will reflect the beauty of what it means to be part of the Hungarian experience. I am filled with enthusiasm and honor to continue this journey with all of you as we connect the circles of Hungarians around us and make this community, Hungarian Heritage, stronger than ever. Please join me in welcoming Gabor Ozster to this episode of the Hungarian Heritage Podcast. He is here to tell us about a very sweet topic, and that is about the company Mayer's, which is a company that sells syrups and jams, which is like a very Hungarian and European thing, and we're trying to make it a little bit more of an American thing. So that's why he is here to tell us all about that. Gabor, welcome, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you for having me here. Yes.
Of course. I'm excited that we finally got the chance to sit down and have an official chat because we've spoken so much about this and my family loves all of these products. So I really want to get the word out a little further for you guys. So if you've listened to any episode or if this is your first time tuning in to the Hungarian Heritage Podcast, we always start out by asking our guest a little bit about their Hungarian heritage. So clearly, Gabor, you live in Hungary. Did you do some traditional Hungarian things when you were younger? Tell us about that.
Yes. So I believe at a very young age, I remember people used to ask me around 5 or 6 years old, what would you like to be when you grow up? And I think my only answer was that I'm going to have a little stand on one of the main streets in Budapest, and I'm going to be selling hot dogs and hamburgers. And people thought, at 4 or 5 years old, that this guy must be whack. You want to be maybe a firefighter or an astronaut. And I said, no, I'm going to be selling hot dogs and hamburgers. For some reason, just serving people was something that I really wanted to do. So I grew up in Budapest. I started, I think, around 12. Somehow life ended up having me at the flea market in Budapest, and I just loved it. Not really for the money making, but more of the action. So I would wake up really early in the morning on the weekend, take my doggy out very early, and by probably before 6 a.m., I would be out to the market just to have a nice spot. So I enjoyed it. And 1989, we left Hungary. So we immigrated to the United States in 89. And I spent about 24 years in the U.S. And, I probably had such a huge feeling of still being Hungarian that I really wanted to always connect the two countries. Just getting back to your questions, yes, I actually did folk dance just for a very short time. I think it was my mom's inspiration that at a certain age, one of my best childhood friends was folk dancing, and she said, you need to go. And I think it was gyros kenyér that was probably the only thing, and very sweet old-fashioned tea was the only thing that I could remember that I really loved. The folk dance I probably didn't enjoy so much just because I was forced to do it, but I think I lasted for less than a year. The dance kind of stayed with me, but folk dance was something that I just did, I guess, because of my mom's inspiration.
Right. So I can see how when you moved to the United States for that period of time, staying connected to your heritage, to your Hungarian roots was very important, especially to your mom, which is probably why she convinced you to do the folk dance. So I'm sure even though it wasn't your favorite thing to do, it definitely helped you stay connected to, to Hungary a little bit. Did you live in the United States near a Hungarian community that you stayed connected with people?
Well, we arrived to Brooklyn. Childhood's family was there. So they originally came around 6 months prior to us. And I was so much looking for Hungarian connections that I think I was sending back over 30 letters, 30 people letters each month, just to stay connected. And I guess
Wow.
I kind of inspired myself to start writing letters because I was so homesick, basically just
Yeah.
missing my friends from Hungary or my classmates, my relatives. As I remember, I was going to high school, and out of 3,500 students, I was the only Hungarian. And
Wow.
at one point, I remember when I saw a little bulletin that there are two Hungarians, and I went out on a mission to find that second excuse me, Hungarian person, and I was just literally so madly in love, like, oh, and we really became good friends. And so I said, wow, two of us out of these 30 some hundred kids. So I was really into, and then one of my, the childhood friend, Thomas, that was in Brooklyn, very close to us, we hung out a lot. I think one of our mission was that we played basketball so badly that every day we would go out, even in the snow, because we literally played like a kindergarten. We set out a mission that we're gonna learn how to play basketball. So I would say we kind of did. And very slowly, as I remember, somehow I got connected to one after another Hungarian person. As far as I remember, we would go out to Central Park on weekends and we would be playing soccer, and the community would grow every week. And at one point, as I remember, we had to have about 3 teams playing soccer at the same time because I think we were probably over 40, 50 people.
Wow.
Just one after another. There was no advertising back then, but I think a lot
Right.
of people, friends, a lot of people that would be on a train coming from Long Island, they would meet somebody and they would be like, "Oh, you're Hungarian. Where are you going?" So we would
Mhm.
just naturally grow our little
Yeah.
Hungarian team.
Well, I feel like that really is such a great representation of what a lot of people feel living outside of Hungary. Whether you're full Hungarian or half Hungarian or whatever your heritage is, it's that longing for connection. And you started out with the writing letters back home and then seeking out the only other Hungarian in your high school and then growing a community. And I think that's important. And that's what a lot of people are longing for is that connection. So I feel like your experience described that perfectly. So I'm glad that you were able to make all those connections, to make you feel a little bit, like home. So when did you move back to Hungary?
I moved back, let's see, 12, and
Okay,
it's kind of in between right now, in between the two
sure.
countries. I spend more time right now, a little bit more in Hungary.
Right. Well, you kind of like running a business. So I feel like that's important. I didn't realize that you had done a little time in the US and had that experience. But I feel like even people from Hungary that move to the US and go back, they still have that longing. And I feel like that's such a great representation. So you mentioned that when you were younger, you were going to the flea markets and you wanted to have this stand selling things as a kid. So basically, your background, you were always headed towards the hospitality industry. I feel like it's in your blood. So you've already told us about how that happened. So tell us how this developed throughout your career and when you met Peter, your partner, and how that developed into Myers, the
Sure,
company.
sure. While I was in the US, I still, the kind of the flea market idea. At one point, I got involved with greeting cards when greeting cards were still things that were kind of used a lot more
Right.
often. Small market American greetings were something that I would start out small, and it became a fairly successful and large operation that we were doing, serving in the entire United States, even further. And at one point, when I saw that the industry wasn't kind of heading in the greeting card way,
Mhm.
I ended up having that company sold. I got involved in books. I ended up having a lot of books on hand and grew that business. And when I sold that business, I got involved in leads and ended up serving a lot of the well-known companies like Oszter, State Farm, Geico, and these agencies were needing good quality leads. So we did this for about 12 years. So it was a call center that we were operating from different countries. Part of it I was actually here in Hungary. And then when that company ended up, I realized that the industry wasn't going in the right direction. So I
Mhm.
felt that there needed to be a change. So had a little pause, and I it was interesting. I believe the entire Mayer story started many, many years ago. I think it was probably about 5 years ago. We were in Debrecen with friends. It was very cold, and I believe I just asked for something hot, either a hot tea. And waitress was suggesting, have a hot ginger. And I was like, sure, hot ginger sounds good. It's cold and it was tasting so refreshing and so fresh. And I just I was curious. I said, how do you guys make this? Are you guys actually making it by hand? And she said, well, this is a syrup company, Mayer, and we buy this syrup, and this is actually ginger, real ginger, and it's. And I was like, wow, I remember the name, and I kept on buying from a few stores, and at one point I realized it was a little less expensive to actually buy it from the company. So to kind of speed it up a little bit, I kept on ordering from the company, and I would get deliveries to us to here. And just because friends would always take the bottles from me, I would always open up. Usually it was raspberry that we grew up on, or strawberry, or even sour cherry that I really enjoy. So they would like it so much, either they take it or the bottles would, kind of go
Right.
empty. And at one point, I remember I see a nice vehicle, and I see a different person that brings in the case of the syrups. And I asked him, I said, this vehicle probably sucks a lot of gasoline. Is it cost effective? And he was like, well, the driver actually ended up, I think he was probably out sick. And he says, well, I'm the owner, Peter. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. We just had a little chat in the backyard. Of course, my entrepreneurial brain started kicking in. I said, did you ever think about just having these in the United States? I said, I have relatives, I have friends. It's kind of a mission for me that they could
Right.
actually have nice, authentic, real fruit-based, or even real gourmet Hungarian goods. And I remember that his very first reaction was like, we can't keep up with demand. Just get back to me in about a year and a half. And this was, I would say, probably about 4 years ago. And I remembered, and I kind of forgot, but I remembered after about a year and a half, I was like, oh, it passed. So I called. He was nice enough to pick up the phone and say, oh, Gabor, I remember this conversation. Come over. We have a little bigger facility right now. And this was 2024, I believe, February. So it was almost 2 years ago. And I went over. Facility was actually opened up just recently, but it couldn't operate yet. And we sat down for, I would say, probably 2, 3 hours of very nice conversation. And at the end, he was like, let's shake hands. So kind of sum it up. So, and I told him, even from the beginning, I said, just remember, I'm a little bit crazy. So
Well,
I
to
do
have an
things.
entrepreneurial spirit, you have to have a little bit of that, risk-taking behavior. It's
Yes.
important. It's
Yeah.
important.
And just because I would say it's more of something where, and I guess that's how I've been for many, many years. When I see something that's very, very hard to achieve, I could go sometimes a little too far on that. So I need to watch. So I usually
I
tell people,
understand. I
when you're
understand.
so bold, it's easier because there's nothing to lose. But
There you go.
I went out, and obviously there was just lots of things were new to me because most of the things that I have done were within the US. And
Okay.
even though I had some ideas, having US things come to Hungary, having food products with FDA and all these regulations and go after all these paperwork were a bit of a challenge because it's not, I would say, it wasn't as easy as I thought, but somehow I would say the universe was supporting us, and it got so, I would say, so much less time than I was anticipating. I thought it would probably take 8, 9, 10 months up to a year. And literally within weeks, we were able to receive just about all of the important documentations. I guess we were just reached with the right people at the right time. Relatively short time, I think it was June, July when we were actually putting the container together, and it left in August of 2024. Um, I think I dreamt a little too big. That little hobby ended up having a 20-foot container to be sent out in
Wow.
2000.
That's fantastic. I feel like you do have to dream big. You do have to take risks. Otherwise, you'll never move forward with like your ideas. And you probably got, and I have no connection to any of these departments in the government, but I feel like because your syrups, which you'll tell me more about, and your jams, they're very natural. There's not a lot of additives in it. So it's probably easier to import something like that into the US when the quality of your products is good.
Well, I don't really have a comparison to it because this was one of our first mission to have.
Yeah,
Yes, because there are no preservatives. FDA obviously looks at a lot of things. Just what are the ingredients?
of course.
These fruits, obviously, they do want to make sure that they have a clean background.
Right.
Just because it's food product, they don't want to have any contaminations. They actually have to have lots of paperwork submitted that the company that's manufacturing it is clean, and lots of certifications. So overall, I do see that within the US, obviously there are a lot of inspections within the country. When something comes from international, they still want to make sure that it's clean. I have a feeling that FDA does know that a lot of the clean products that are coming from Europe are probably a lot healthier
Oh,
than
absolutely.
United States-based products. So,
Absolutely. And that was my follow-up comment is that again, they probably knew that because your food sources are definitely a lot cleaner and healthier than the struggles that we're currently experiencing in the United States, which I'm sure you're aware of. So it worked in your favor, which is fantastic. So I feel like it's a good time to talk about the types of, like, where do you source your ingredients from? Because they are very natural. Tell us a little bit about that.
So basically, Peter is very keen, and some I I would say for many years I've been a maximalist, and I learned that sometimes you need to watch yourself because it could affect health. And Peter is also he's going really way above and beyond on making sure that the quality stays on top of his priority chart. So basically, all the fruits in priorities are Hungarian sourced, and he's very keen on making sure that every single fruit that actually arrives to make syrups are top quality. Some of the fruits, just in case they could be running short on supplies, for example, sour cherry last year was something, I believe, just because of the weather,
Right.
was something that was short on supply. So when they would be running short on the Hungarian supplies, they would have to reach out to one of the neighborhood countries like Slovenia, Slovakia, Poland, but he does make sure that basically quality does stay the same. It's interesting that since I've been involved for about 2 years, I look and it's very interesting just to see what's out there because I did grow up with these tastes and I don't really want to mention other brands because it wouldn't be fair, but the brands that I grew up on, I do believe that just about most of them are rather looking at the large scale and basically seeing how they could be saving a little more money on a conveyor belt versus staying healthy. So we've done a lot of research and just to see what's out there really worldwide, not even just just within Hungary or, for example, right now within the US, just to see what's really fruit based and have literally no artificial flavors or coloring or preservatives. And we found that there aren't a whole lot out there.
There are not.
Yes. So having real fruit, some people have asked me, like, why would it be a different price tag on these bottles? And, it's a nice, I would say it's a very healthy claim to say, just imagine you have a whole bottle and 50% of the bottle includes real fruits. Real fruits are cost obviously a lot more money than having artificial flavors or even natural flavorings. Basically, even in Hungary, there's only a handful of places where you could actually find real fruit-based syrups, which makes Mayer, in a very different, and I would say in a very unique position.
They stand out, and it's like an artisan type of product because you care about the ingredients that go into the product. And I feel like in the US and other places also, people are really looking for that more so now than, say, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because we were just so used to buying things with maybe not looking at all of the extra ingredients. We get conditioned in the United States, like all these products and the advertising and the marketing. And I feel as though the pendulum definitely has swung in the opposite direction. But I feel like it's become less of like just people that care to like the overall population is really now thinking, worldwide, but definitely in the United States, because those are big conversations we're having now, whether people like it or not. Those are big conversations we're having now regarding like what's in our foods. So you do have to pay a little bit more to get healthier things. So I think a lot of people are aware of that. And I feel like in the United States, it's welcomed, I feel like the Meyer products, because we are looking for things that don't have all of those extra ingredients in them, which is great. So you mentioned that these are like a lot of flavors that you grew up with. So tell us about that. Like what would this be like when you say we're going to grandma's house when you were younger? How would these be presented to you in like foods that you would eat?
Yes. So even my grandma wasn't making a lot of these syrups, but I would be the one, and I really enjoyed going down to the market, which was literally
Sure.
right across the street from us. So I remember a couple of these real authentic village ladies where they would tell us, this is how I made these, and it was usually raspberry, which just reminds me so much to my childhood flavors and times that they would have their own raspberry in the backyard and they would basically, make it just like jams. They would broil it up to a really high temperature. They would put usually some lemon, water, and sugar.
Right.
That was really, and they would basically just bottle it up. It would stay. It wouldn't have to be refrigerated as long as it was bottled at a very high temperature. So it basically it's like sugar is the natural pasteurizer basically within these bottles. And I just truly enjoyed those authentic raspberry syrups back then. So grandma, I remember if we had the syrups, we would pour them on. We have usually palachinta, you know.
I was going to say that palachinta, yeah.
And I just I wasn't really into much seltzer, but with just regular tap water, we would just drink it. This was pretty much our like favorite drinks with my brother. So we would just drink raspberry, syrup with water, and
Yeah.
that was probably as clean as it could be back then.
Absolutely. And who knew that like what you were doing as a child at your grandma's house was really where you were going to, I don't want to say end up because, we're still, young, right? So we have lots of life to live and entrepreneurial things to do, but it's very ironic that that's now your business. Obviously, everyone loves jams, right? We know how to use jams. We can put them on many things, no matter what country we live in. So tell me, like, how do you market to, say, in the United States or like somewhere in North America, like Canada, like the syrups? Because the syrups are kind of like a European thing right now, and they're
Yeah.
slowly moving into, the United States market. So how do you see it being used, and what would you suggest?
So people, I remember when I told a few friends and family, I'll be bringing out beer, some syrups to the United States. I would say majority of them said, Gabor, you're crazy. You're out of your mind. Who the heck is going to be drinking? And I said, look, I have friends and family. They like these syrups. They grew up on it. And it's very interesting that in my mind, it was basically an idea that mostly Hungarians and East European people will be drinking this just like we drink it here. And I would say partly became that basically the original idea. And I also had to realize that um, Americans, basically to introduce them to this kind of a lifestyle would probably take a lot longer than seeing what's presently being basically used and whether educate them that there
Mhm.
are some more healthier alternatives out there. Because there are huge brands. At that time, I did not realize that huge worldwide coffee shops, use such brands where we could never even get close to those sizes. But I had a vision. I said, there has to be just a very small segment of the entire population that will read the labels. And if they
Yes.
read it and we can educate them and just let them know, hey, this actually has real fruit, then they're willing to, step up. And just like in Hungary, in between, I would say the low end ones and basically between Mayer, there's a huge gap in price wise.
Sure.
And I think in the US, it's in a very, very beginning stage for an average person that lives in America to say, well, let me spend another few seconds and read the label. Because I remember, I guess I could say,
Mhm.
I grew up on Snapple iced tea. I grew up on Country Time lemonade powdered.
We all
Drink.
did. We all grew up on those things.
And I loved it. I put
Me
the
too.
powder in there. I make a jug of 2 liter. It only cost me $1. And I was like, wow. And I never
Exactly.
realized that it was probably not the healthiest thing because
Right.
that lemonade probably never saw an actual lemon.
That's so
But it,
true. It's so
but it
true.
was such a good taste. And
Tasted
I was
like
like,
lemon though, so
yes, absolutely.
yeah.
So I had to realize that when we started getting feedbacks from people that, you know what, I marinate food, I marinate meat with this. I'm
Oh,
on ice cream or
that's a great idea with the meat. I never
yes.
thought of
And
that.
we don't do that in Hungary. Well, actually, I just didn't hear about it.
Right.
Coffee shops were telling us that they actually, they use it in coffee and in other drinks. So because I've even put it in like my own tea, for example,
Yeah.
or which obviously here in Hungary we make a lot of flavored lemonades out of it. But in the US, I had to realize that either we go the hard way and just try to let people know, hey, you can soda stream and make your drinks and forget about Coca-Cola, or kind of position the syrups in a place where it kind of belongs, but people will need a little more education to it. I guess somehow that became our path to kind of a mission as well to educate those few people that I would say are more health conscious in the United States and willing to spend, I would say, a little more money on real fruits. We kind of have this, I would say, this slogan right now that we are actually giving you a bottle with real fruit and like 3 other natural ingredients, which is purified water, sugar, and
Right.
lemon. So basically, some people started to be open about it, and And it's nice to see that the word is spreading when we see many of the same customers just either for themselves or they're gifting it lately, or we see a lot of on the business side, a lot of the customers that are having restaurants, taverns. We've seen some very high-end hotels that are using them in their bars. And it's just, I would say it's a good feeling that they are looking out for a better, more healthier alternative. So
I think you hit the nail on the head. That is true. And also, when you mentioned the things that we used to drink when we were younger, and I'm a little older than you are, so I'm sure that the things I was drinking and the iced teas and that I was making, they definitely didn't have any connection to its original form. But we always felt like we were healthy, at that time. So I think there are a lot of people, more people than you think, that are concerned about what's in the product and what's on the label, because again, the climate of food in the US is definitely changing. And a lot of us don't want all that extra processed. And we talk about this all the time, like in our family. We were just talking the other day about, cereals and things like that. And not to get off topic, but I can't believe we ate those things and they were so unhealthy, but it was so normal. And I think that was the key. It was what was normalized. And like now I and some of friends and family only consider those things like snacks because they're not healthy for like a breakfast food. So
yes.
I think there are so many people that would love the Meyer products because of all their natural ingredients. And also too, you brought up a great point, is that putting the syrups into your drinks, your teas, over your ice creams, marinating it. I feel like there's so many ways to use these things. So when you mentioned that people were saying like, "Oh, you're crazy. Why are you bringing these products to the US?" I mean, there's a whole industry, multiple industries like that have recipes and all these different things that people could use the syrups in. So I don't think it's crazy at all. And also, the cocktail industry, we've also done that. We've made cocktails in the summer with the products after we met after the Hungarian festival. And we enjoyed our whole summer adding these, syrups into our cocktails and creating like new things when we were sitting outside at the pool. So there's a lot of ways to use Meyer syrups and the delicious flavors. Obviously, the jams are also fantastic. I truly can't keep them in my refrigerator long enough because my son loves them. So of course you have a lot of like the traditional flavors, but you have some new flavors, which I think are pretty cool. Do you want to tell us about some of those new flavors?
Sure. So yeah, we thought about just basically having the five, I would say, most popular potential flavors that we brought out originally. So we had
Yep.
raspberry, strawberry, we had elderflower, sour cherry, and we had mango, which it's not Hungarian. Part of it
Right.
comes from Brazil. I think there are a couple of other countries that are being sourced. It's just it was a good feeling to even hear my Brazilian friend telling me that they haven't even seen such a great quality mango soup as the
Oh,
one that
wow.
good childhood friend of mine, which we are third generation friends. He has three kids, and he says, we open up the bottle and they last for like 1 hour because the kids drink the entire bottle. And I said, that's a good reference to have. So
Absolutely.
five flavors that we originally brought up, and these all have won international best taste awards actually, which is
Wow.
it's also very rare in this industry. So then we ended up having recently just two more flavors introduced, which was the cinnamon plum, which we thought it would be more of a holiday tradition, but seems like even after the holidays, people are liking it so much. We had even restaurants telling us that they put them on their cocktail. I knew, and it became the best seller. I believe
Yeah.
some kind of margarita was made out of them, and they're selling more than ever, which it's a nice feedback, I guess, to have. And then we planning to bring a few more flavors in the next couple of months. Most likely, ginger will be one of them.
Mm.
Tonic. Passion fruit is also, it's not a Hungarian fruit, but it seems like in the US, there are a lot of demand for it, but there is very hardly natural passion fruit syrups out there.
Right.
Just about everything that we have seen are artificially made.
Right.
So I do believe once people are seeing and they get the feeling of the real fruit-based Meyer brand, I believe slowly they will be able to bring a few more flavors.
Yeah, I agree. And I know you said that like not all of those are like sourced from Hungary, like the mangoes. However, you're sourcing it from places that grow mangoes naturally, like areas. So, you're getting that really authentic taste. They're not forcing it, it's not in a hothouse, when they're
No.
growing their fruit, like you're taking it from places that naturally make those products, which is a big deal. And I'm looking forward to trying the cinnamon plum in a margarita. So I'll put that on my summer cocktail list for this year. One of the questions I was going to ask you is from start to now, how long it took. And you've already answered that question, but that's fantastic that you and Peter were able to take the Mayer syrups and the jams that Mayer creates, into the US. So tell us the places that you sell in the US.
So we started basically with just local friends and family in 2024, losing track of years. So we started really locally, and then we were approached by a bigger distributor that ended up distributing the products. So we don't have obviously all their suppliers or all their places where they were selling it at, but we had in New Jersey, we have a very nice golf resort in Edgewood actually that's on airing our products in their cafe. We started sending them. Most of our clients, it was interesting, that are in California actually. So we
That
feel
makes
that
sense.
maybe in California people are more health conscious. So we have a cider manufacturer in Pennsylvania that purchases larger volume. We have taverns in Texas that buy it for their cocktails. So we sell them through Amazon, which was a huge task. I would say I ended up giving it up at a certain point because I guess I just didn't have enough inner inspiration. A good friend of mine was inspiring me. He said that go for it. Just find the right person that can actually have a little more Amazon experience. So last year I would say it was right at the end of February or March, we were able to just introduce. At that time, we were not able to use the name because we didn't have a brand registry finalized yet. And after a couple of months, we were able to use the name. And I would say it's just a very good feeling that the Amazon community ended up putting us in a top 2% of all the syrups on the market right now.
Wow.
So having us literally probably the smallest company on the market, but being on the top 2% because of the quality and the natural ingredients, it's a good feeling. And I would say
Absolutely.
price-wise, we would have to say that we are certainly not the least expensive. I would say we are probably on the opposite end, just because of the reason being all natural. And we see that more and more people are just repeat customers and coming back. And we see that a lot of these people are just spreading the word. And so it's kind of an organic growth through Amazon as well. So
Great.
a lot of those people we what we see is that these are B2B clients, obviously a lot of them because they're prime customers. Amazon does not share these information. So overall, all we see is that I believe after the first 4 or 5 months, every state was serviced
Wow.
in the United States. So it's a good feeling.
Congratulations. That's a big endeavor. That's
Thank
really
you.
great.
Yes.
So every state in the United States has ordered Mayer products from Amazon.
Yes, Hawaii, Alaska, even the North Pole actually has received
What?
Mayer.
Wow, that's fantastic. And honestly, that's really good news for the listeners and well, for you, obviously, and the company, but because sometimes it is difficult to order products from Hungary or any country. So that's really great news. We connected originally at the Hungarian Festival or prior to the Hungarian Festival last June. And then, we've stayed connected. And then all of a sudden, I go to an artisan market and your friend Mark, right?
Yes.
So shout out to Mark. I saw a Mayer table and there was Mark, who I also met at the festival. And I'm like, you know what? It was meant to be. We definitely need to get you on the podcast and tell us all about this product. So you're also available at little local artisan markets as well, which is great.
He messaged me the same day. He said,
Yeah.
he was here at the booth.
Yeah.
We are on my greeting card years. He was one of my first customers in Brookings. That goes back about 20 plus years. And we became, at that time, we were more friends than business. He was basically one of my customers, and we just always stayed in touch. And we have such an entrepreneurial background. We found out that a lot of the things we were actually doing almost parallel. He's a few years older than me, but otherwise we just have such a synergy. So he helps out a lot. And I would say it was a huge inspiration. I have a good friend of mine, Ildiko, Rosie Ildiko, and you know her.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I remember that she would message me or call me. I think she called me actually a few weeks prior to the New Brunswick event festival. And she says, Gábor, you got to come. And I said, well, Ildikó, there's only a few more weeks and I'm in Hungary. And she says, well, I think you ought to be here. And she was such an inspiration. I will always be grateful for her that I said, okay, then let's get together.
Yeah.
And everything got so well organized within about 2 weeks. And you guys were also, I appreciate that you guys were also always at that time and
Yeah, of
beyond
course, of
helpful.
course.
And I think we were just having a good time, even though I believe after 50 years was the first time that it was raining. I
Yeah,
remember,
yeah, that
uh,
is true. I mean, I don't think I've been to all 50, but most of them, because I also grew up in the area. And now, I work with the vendor and, I'm on the board at the American Hungarian Foundation. So, there's a lot of like connections and friends that, I've made through this process. And, I find it a very exciting time of year to work with the vendors because I get to meet new friends and new people. And then especially you and Mark. So I thought it was a great day. Even though it rained, I feel like we still had a lot of people come out because it's a very big, it's the biggest, I believe, Hungarian festival in the United States.
it is, I believe.
It
Yes.
is the
And
biggest,
for
yeah.
me to actually see people that I haven't seen for about 15, 20 years was just such a blessing that, we were literally a connecting times for me. It was a blessing that we actually were able to have 5 people on the tent. And that was just, I could disappear for a few minutes.
Yeah.
I haven't seen for years.
Yeah,
So
that's fantastic. And I think that's why the rain didn't deter the festival whatsoever. So keep that in mind for those of you who are listening. Obviously, we're going to see Mayor the festival again this year, but
yeah,
it doesn't matter if it's raining, we're still there and you'll still see all the great people that you haven't seen in a while and eat all the foods that, you haven't eaten possibly because, people move away from the area and, our older family members pass away. So you're not necessarily getting the same foods that grandma cooked, for when you were younger. It's a great day. So a little plug for the Hungarian Festival in New Brunswick, which is the first Saturday of every June. So I hope to see everyone else there as well. So you discussed quickly that you won an award before. So tell us a little bit about some of the other awards that you have received.
yes. So not me personally, but there is a very popular worldwide Great Taste Award based in the UK, and anybody in the world can actually submit their food products. It's either drinks or food product that we consume,
Mm.
and they are completely biased. So basically, there are no ways to
Right.
schmooze around, but basically they will actually have a judge on the premises, and they will make a lot of the tastes, and they will basically decide what product out of all those products are the best tasting. And so there's about 25, a little over 25 flavors among Mayer syrups right now in Hungary. And
Mhm.
out of the 25, 20 has won
Wow.
international.
Congratulations. That's quite an
Yeah.
accomplishment. Yes.
So they basically send in the flavors that are being manufactured, and most of them actually end up winning the awards. There are in 2022, the jams and the syrups have won the best syrup and the best jam, or the jam of the
Wow.
year in Hungary. So they were named the jam or the syrup of year in Hungary. And there are a few other awards that have actually been received by either individual flavors or by the brand itself. Recently, at the end of last year, there's a KME, which stands basically for basically just having a clean manufacturing. And I do believe they only give it to a single manufacturer out of the syrup community, and Bayer actually did receive that. We are proud of that. So we ended up pasting it on actually on Myers Harvest website.
Well, I
Uh,
feel like you have to advertise those things because that's what people are looking for. You won the award because you're clean and natural products, the places that you're sourcing them from, and just like the natural ingredients that you're putting into your product. And that's what people are looking for. So you have to, as they say, toot your own horn sometimes and let people know that you've won awards for this. So that's fantastic.
yes, we are getting there. It's also, it's not a typical Hungarian thing when you're receiving an award. I many times have to remind Peter. Literally, we just had a call actually earlier today, and I keep on reminding him. I said, you had a lot of these, podcasts and a few of
Hmm.
these. I I I am not aware of all of them because he received them, I believe, in November and December. And I've been asking him, can you just send them over? So because I think we should be proud of them. And he would even tell me that I'm not even exactly sure where they're going to be posting them. So I will look them up. So he's, I would say within Hungary, it's not such a customary thing to
To
pride
brag.
yourself.
Of course.
Yeah,
I
and
completely
I would
understand
say,
that. I
yeah.
do.
So
Yeah.
so it is a borderline of having displaying your pride at the same time you're not bragging about it. But I think it's a very nice add-on, and we are very proud of that. That at any time, when people are asking about, just give me a few ideas of, how do you stick out or how do you stand out? And it's very nice to see. Many times I would just show up if we have a conversation. We'll go back to the back of the
Sure.
manufacturer, and everything is still handmade. So at this point, even within Hungary, there is just probably just a very small handful worldwide. I don't, I can't count who
Right.
are actually syrup manufacturers that are making these by hand. Peter started squeezing these literally
Yeah.
these strawberries and raspberries by hand,
Uh,
and right now the drums just became bigger, but
right.
it's still put together by hand. Actually.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that. So how many people do this by hand now?
Well, at any time, there are several people working in the kitchen.
Yeah.
There are a few people in the warehouse. Peter's mom, Zsuzsa, is I would say, the main person in the
She's the
back.
boss. Let's be
Yes,
realistic. She's the
yes,
boss,
yes,
right?
yes.
She's the
I would
boss.
say she's needed on an everyday basis, but she oversees just about the entire warehouse operation because there's
Yeah.
a lot of things that are happening in the warehouse. So there are, there's the warehouse operation, and there's also the area where it's all being handmade.
Well, I feel like it's important that we even talked about that because, you can have quality products and, quality sourcing and all those great things that we talked about, but you're also making it in a very, I don't want to say old school, just a very natural, authentic way, like not processing it as you make it. So when you are thinking about buying, which I know people will, a syrup or a jam from Meyer, whether it's at an artisan market or on Amazon, like you have to remember that this was actually hand pressed by people, like real people, not big machines on a conveyor belt, as you mentioned. So that adds to the quality and the authenticity of these products, which I'm excited to try all the new flavors. So I would love to be able to get a list of all of the maybe places that people can visit at your leisure, and I will post them for you. Like you said, the cider places, or if there are any cafes. Obviously, they're probably in so many places, so I don't want you to have like extra homework for this episode. But yeah, definitely, forward that to me because I'm sure that the listeners would love to know, like, oh, I live in. I think you mentioned Pennsylvania, right? In Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
I can visit this, place. So in addition to Amazon, because Amazon obviously is wonderful and we all use it. So, Gabor, please tell us a little bit more about the mission that's behind all of your jams and your syrups, because it's not just about that. It's more than just the syrups and the jams. It's about giving back, and that's part of the mission of the company. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, sure. So for a very long time, I just enjoy being with animals, and I also like to help wherever we can with animals. So I grew up petting and feeding just about all the dogs that I could find, and so I adopted a doggie about 8 years ago who was just about 8 years old that time, and we lost him last month. And so he was from a shelter called Ebremé, which in Hungarian I think people will can resonate to it, and I will encourage anybody to look them up on Facebook because they just do an amazing work on helping cats, dogs that are needing help throughout Hungary. So they've been doing this for over 10 years, and I dedicated uh, lots of uh, we allocated free time as well as other resources, but basically we ended up having a mission on donating out of our proceeds. So out of all the net proceeds, we donating a percentage to Bremen as well as to the WRF within United States. So we helping out kind of United States as well as the Hungarian part as well. So we try to give back with every sale that we are making.
That's fantastic. It's such an admirable mission to do that, and to know that, animals will be helped and that mission will continue with every bottle of syrup or jam that you produce, because you do donate back, which is great because you're offering the listeners a discount code, and you'll tell us about that in a second. But I just want the listeners to know that if you do order through Mayer syrups, through their website, that's the way you will best be able to have Mayer syrup contribute back. So, Gabor, why don't you tell us about the discount code?
Well, first of all, this was my dream, and I would say my mission, that let's have some good Hungarian products in United States. And I don't think it was really serious back then, but I just dreamed about having something authentic out there. Ironically, I don't think I was thinking of so much on the health wise, but just having more unique. And obviously, it had to be syrups, I guess, because I like it, and it's really just on a natural part. So just because the world is becoming a little faster than ever before, we try to make our website really user friendly. We made up a discount code for the listeners, and they like to just pop in the website. It's easy to remember. It's Myers Harvest. We have all the flavors on the website, same as on Amazon. I would say our website will be a little bit less costly, and we also ended up putting together a 30% discount code. And it's easy to remember. It's just 30, 30, and then it's winter, 30 winter.
30 winter. Well,
Uh,
I feel like the listener, that's a very lucky thing for them because 30% off is a great discount. So that's very kind and generous of you and Peter to do that.
To the entire country, any part of the country. We ship our orders out the same day when they received until 1 p.m. Eastern. So weekends, we have orders received, they all go out on Mondays. So I would say that would probably be the easiest way to contact us. There's a phone number on the website as well. Also, there's a contact form. What we also ended up making up, it's a very interesting recipe. If anybody's interested, they can just sign up with their email address to a newsletter, and right away they will receive a discount code as well as a over 50-page free recipe book that you can download right away.
That's fantastic. I'm definitely going to do that because I'm always I like to cook. I like to, create some cocktails and all that fun stuff. So I'm looking forward to doing that. So many opportunities. And most important thing, that discount code is through your website, not through Amazon.
Yes.
Important to remember.
We made it through our website. I would say it's a lot more cost effective to actually ship it out. Many people may not realize that when they buy from Amazon, part of it, we still actually ended up shipping it to them. The only difference is, Amazon will keep a big chunk out of that purchase. So we rather give out that part to our customers basically on a discount rather than just having people. But some people are just enjoying, let's say, a Prime membership. It's easy to click. They can put in the name Mayer syrup, and they could even use a flavor, and everything will pop up on the Amazon website as well. And one other thing, which is kind of I would say, you guys inspired us since last June.
I'm excited to hear.
Yes, we ended up. We didn't know how to have tastes actually offered at the New Brunswick Hungarian Festival. Yeah. Someone suggested me, I believe it was my friend Mark. I said, in Hungary we drink it as with water or with seltzer. So let's have it like a drink, and so people can taste it. And I remember Mark insisted. He said, "Look, if we just give people a little taste in a cup and they taste the flavor, that should be okay. Don't worry about the water part." So we ended up putting out, even friends were actually helping. Anybody that walked by, we just asked them, "Would you like to taste any of these syrups?" And just have a taste. And I remember many people would just first have a scent like, "Wow, this smells like strawberry." And they would taste it. And it was nice to see that we were receiving just about all the positive feedbacks. And most of these people, when they tasted it, they tried it. So we set out a mission to have more farmers markets introduced throughout the countries. Anybody that has a little bit of an entrepreneurial mind out there who might be listening, there are so many places that we still haven't reached, full-time, part-time, but this could be something interesting. So throughout the website, there's a contact form. You could reach out to us, and I'll be happy to send out some more information. It's a very nice way. I would say it's more of a mission for us to spread the word to any part of the country, because we are able to ship any volume to anybody, and based on between wholesale and retail, there's basically enough for everybody to spread the word. And I just feel that it's probably the easiest and the cleanest way on these farmers markets, where people actually go there because they want to have something more natural and more clean.
That's true.
Market standing, and it might not have the story behind it, versus when somebody's actually had. And I would just share this with you because this is recent. Somebody actually called me on my phone an elderly person, a gentleman. And ironically, I still remembered his name a few days later. He says, I just called because this elderflower syrup tastes good, but he was reading about the shelf life. And I was ensuring him that, based on some government mandatory processes, we have to put on 2 weeks, even though in the fridge it will last you a lot longer. But
Of
we just have.
course. Yeah.
And he was just so pleased. And he called me up a couple of days later. And I remember I asked him, is this Walter? And he says, wow, you remember my name. I just want to tell you that I was coughing so much, but from the elderflower syrup, I cured myself. So he ended up placing a wholesale order because he sells his own jams on a local market in Illinois. And he says he has tried elderberry and elderflower in the country. He has been buying from Amazon, from other places. And he says, he hasn't found such a clean elderflower syrup as ours.
Yeah.
And I said, it was such a nice feedback. And it really kind of clicked in my head that, wow, all these people that are out there and selling their own products, it could be a nice supplementary item also where they could have a few bottles of Mayer syrups, perhaps. And again, it could be just an idea where it's as clean as, obviously, they're not manufacturer, they're not actually making it, but it could also be something that they would potentially just be able to offer as a natural product. On the other hand, we do have some of these stands where we actually make the Mayer brand as a standalone, just like as you saw, Mark.
Right, exactly.
That's also something that we are looking to expand in the countries. This year, I feel that we will be able to reach out to a lot more people than we have done in 2025. Anybody that's potentially even open to that, they can message us, and I'll be happy to share more information.
Well, that's an interesting opportunity if people are looking for that. It's definitely something that could expand their own little artisan market table to add the Mayer product to it, because it could enhance their business as well and also enhance your business at the same time. That's a great concept. And you mentioned people can find more information about that on your website. So the story about Walter was fantastic, and it really just is a testament to the cleanliness of the products. Last question. Do you ship to other countries outside of Hungary and the U.S.?
Well, we have an exclusive contract with the Peters company that we can cover U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Canada requires a French labeling. We are planning to actually put on it the next couple of months.
Great.
Afterwards, we plan to start shipping to Canada as well.
That's
either
great.
From New Jersey, or we might actually have a distribution set up within Canada. We haven't had that set up yet.
It's the next step. Yeah.
Yes. And there are a lot of Hungarians and East Europeans there as well. I would feel that we will do well in Canada as well. So that's
will
one
too.
of our projects for 2026.
Well, that's great. It's good to set these little goals and achieve them, which you've both been doing. You and Peter have both been doing. So that's fantastic. It's natural. It's accessible through the website, on Amazon. There's recipes that you can sign up for. I don't think there's any reason someone wouldn't want to have Meyer's, in their refrigerator or, on their shelf. So, Gábor, thank you so much for coming on the episode today and telling us all about it and giving us all of that extra insight as to the product, where it's sourced, how it's hand pressed still, and all the places that people can access these products. And you won't be sorry because they're all delicious. So I'm excited to try the new flavors, and I'm excited to share the discount code with the listeners as well. So thank you so much for being here today. And I look forward to seeing you in June at the Hungarian Festival. Hopefully you'll be there in person.
I'll be there.
Perfect. If not before, at one of the artisan markets that are in the area. Thanks so much, Gábor, for being here, and I appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Christine. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Hungarian Heritage Podcast, with a special thanks to my guest, Gabor Ozster from Mayer Syrups and Jams. And thanks for sharing all about the naturally sourced fruits that are used to produce these delicious hand-pressed products, also where you can purchase them, and the company's mission to give back to animals. Not to mention the generous discount code you will receive when you purchase products directly from their website. If you are interested in ordering these products or contacting Gábor, I will leave all of that information in the show notes. If you have feedback or questions about this episode, or you would like to connect with me at the podcast, you will also find that information in the show notes. If you are interested in learning more about this Hungarian heritage community, please don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to hear from you. Our theme music is Hungarian Dance by Pony Music, used with special license from Envato Market. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, make sure you stay Hungarian Heritage strong. See ya, Stoke!